Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here. It is Bilderberg weekend, Bilderberg 2023, and there are so many aspects to this that unfortunately we are not going to be able to crack because of the Chatham House rules that go on inside and the refusal of the vast majority of the mainstream media to cover this at all. Last year, in stark contrast to recent previous years, there was almost no coverage, no mention whatsoever, even in passing, of the Bilderberg group. However, this year, the big headline came out of CNBC, and lo and behold, actually did focus on the fact that AI is at the top of the agenda. Sam Altman is in attendance, far from the only AI guy, but I mention Altman because this week, he was before Congress giving testimony, talking about the dangers of AI and regulation of AI. On top of his operation, DeepMind, Microsoft, other big tech names like Palantir, Karp, Thiel, also there. On top of that, heavy on prime ministers, heavy on the NATO alliance, no OPEC representatives, no Chinese representatives, no BRICS representatives, and although they're usually not in full force there is some representation. And then we have to talk about the very sparse alternative media that is there and doing a great job. Josh Friedman, Dan Dix, a gentleman with the last name Cavallo, who actually put out the Lisbon, Portugal information months ago, and of course, really comedy writer / mainstream journalist turned into Bilderberg aficionado Charlie Skelton, who just hours ago has put up his first article on the matter at Bilderberg's Big Wig Bash. Two things are guaranteed: Kissinger and secrecy. So I thought we would grab Stuart J. Hooper, who has done great work across the board on globalization, these types of organizations, the parapolitics or the deep politics that you're not hearing about in the mainstream. And to start that off, Stuart, let's talk about the history of Bilderberg, how it was formed, its satellite organizations, and then why it's so important. Then we'll move into this year. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jason. Really great to be back with you as always. Always great to talk to your audience, which is useful because we both come at this from a very similar angle in seeing these problems as very real, very relevant. And I know that you have spoken in the past with Peter Dale Scott, who, of course, coined this term deep state and deep politics, which even, unfortunately, in academic circles now has just fallen into something that is automatically now associated with Donald Trump. And therefore, because Trump used this term, surely it must be illegitimate, right? Surely there's nothing to it. It must all just be some wild conspiracy theory out of nowhere. But the unfortunate reality is that these are very real concepts, and if you take the time to think about how they work and how they operate, this has some very real impact. So in terms of the Bilderberg Group and what this has been throughout its history, it's really a meeting place for top politicians, corporate leaders, banking chiefs, prestigious academics, major figures within the media sphere, even the legal sphere as well, the military, the CIA. It's a place where all of these different elites can come together. And eventually, we'll get the emergence of other organizations like NATO, the OECD, the IMF, the World Bank, and you will get individuals from these institutions also coming to Bilderberg and meeting with all of these other types of figures that I just discussed. So the first meeting that they actually hold is in 1945, and it's really trying to continue the development of what would be an Atlantic community.
Let me stop you there. Are you sure it's 45 or 54?
Oh, yeah, 54.
Yeah, because right. it took a little bit after the post-World War II era. I do want to make sure people understand that, because 45 is kind of on the cusp. This is where the OSS starts to morph into the Central Intelligence Agency. This is the time period where Born Classified becomes a reality post Manhattan Project and compartmentalization. And the reason that I bring that up is because Bilderberg seems to be at the apex of those military industrial complex organizations that are kind of vying for power around that time. And it seems that that group is formed kind of in response to this new, I would say, techno-fascistic way of running supposed quote-unquote democratic societies.
Yeah, absolutely. But in this post-war world, we do have this group that finds themselves now in opposition to what's going to be the Soviet Union, and Stalin and the issues that Stalin, of course, causes in the post-war world. So what they're trying to do here, really, at Bilderberg, is remove some of the causes of transatlantic friction, we could say, that have occurred throughout the prior decades, and of course led to two world wars to this point. So what they're trying to do is create mutual confidence and mutual friendship amongst each other, all of these different people from these different places, these different elements of society. Something that immediately stands out is that nearly all of the American Bilderbergers, at least, they are members of the Council on Foreign Relations. So this is an interesting connection here. What we have to consider, well, if the members of a group are all members of another group, well, what do these groups stand for? That's ultimately what you have to try to analyze here. What do these groups stand for? Who is a member of these groups? And therefore, what are they trying to push in wider society, and not just domestic society, but across borders and really across the entire world? Importantly, what you end up with then is meetings that are very non-partisan. They want to bring in absolutely everybody from all corners of the political spectrum, because they want to co-opt all corners of the political spectrum. They want all of the potential avenues for opposition, let's say, to fall in line with their overall grand scheme for what they see as a positive future for the world. So there is something that all of these individuals that are there in these meetings then really need. They need to have at least a degree of sympathy towards the group's aims, meaning they have to agree that what this group is aiming for is a-okay. This is a good thing. Otherwise, why would they let you in the group, right? So then what they can do, once you have a group of people that collectively agree that, hey, this is a problem, or hey, this is something that we want to do, it's going to be more likely they're going to be able to achieve that goal. If you're just out there in the world as an individual trying to achieve some big, widespread worldwide goal, it's going to be hard to do on your own. But if you get a group of people together that all think alike and sound alike and agree that this is what we want to do, it's going to make it a bit easier for them to actually do that. So what you end up creating then with Bilderberg over its history is what you could call a transnational network of elites. Elites that specifically agree, for the most part, that globalization is the way to go, that a globalized world is beneficial for the most part. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't disagreements within Bilderberg itself, because of course there will be, but they're not really disagreements on the end goal, as opposed to disagreements of, well, how do we get to the end goal? So it's more method disagreements as opposed to objective disagreements.
Stuart, it is always a pleasure. You can find him at Stuart J. Hooper on Twitter or youtube.com/Stuart J. Hooper. What do you have coming up?
I am going to continue to focus on the war in Ukraine. It appears today that Bakhmut has finally fallen to the Russians. There was lots of really, let's say, disturbing pictures of an aerial incendiary attack on Bakhmut last night, which may have done the job in destroying the last remnants of Ukrainian resistance. So this generally is what I'm going to be focusing on: the threat of World War III, and where we're going perhaps post-Ukraine, if there is going to be a post-Ukraine, because I think we may be in a situation where this is the new forever war. And I think something I also really want to cover is I think Zelensky has become dangerously let's say, dangerously obsessed with military technologies. He thinks that just getting F-16s is going to be the fix to the problem. This isn't going to work. Just look at the US and its implementation of military technologies in Iraq and Afghanistan. It was always a disaster, never went how they wanted it to go. So yeah, this needs a political solution. That's been what I've been calling for since day one. Russians should never have invaded. NATO probably should never have expanded. So there's wrong on all sides. Let's just come to the table and let's figure this out.
Absolutely 100%. I want to thank my audience out there that are RVM Premium and watch this entire interview. If you just happen to tune in to the YouTube and got like a 10-minute sample, consider coming on over. It's redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Try it out for $1 today. It's only $1 for the first week. That means you're going to get my 6 exclusive interviews that are already out there, although 2 go free because we want the information out there after 2 weeks. So maybe you're watching this whole thing 2 weeks later. You want to support the broadcast. $10 a month, lock it in for $100 on the year. I'm not going anywhere. Stuart J. Hooper is going to be one of our best analysts. I can promise you that. Stuart, I love you. I love my audience. Thanks for joining me. It's not about left or right. It's always about right and wrong. And we will see you on the flip side.